Well, good morning. Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday at 9 a.m. I got to tell you, we have a pretty interesting special guest here. And now, by way of Delray Beach, Florida, he is a brand ambassador at Helping Rhinos. He is the TV host of Videoglobetrotter on Lifetime TV. He's an innovator, a trendsetter, a globetrotter. He's a world traveler, uncle, brother, and son. Many want to be like him, but none can duplicate him. He is Scott Eddy.
What an intro. Oh, my God. You sure you were talking about me?
I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of guests. I've been doing this for about 3 years now, every Tuesday. And there's no one more interesting than you. You win.
That's pretty funny. It must be because of my haircut.
It's a really nice haircut, by the way. I tried that, but it's a little bumpy and it's bad. So listen, really a pleasure meeting you. And we talked a little off stage about your accomplishments and things that you've been doing. Tell us a little bit about you and your background, so viewers can get an understanding of who you are.
So I grew up in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale, and my father was a police officer. So for me, growing up, my life plan was super simple. Graduate high school, 6 months later, join the police academy, become a cop, have the white picket fence, the 2.5 kids, retire and die. Like that was literally the plan. 3 weeks before I graduated high school, my father was killed in the line of duty, and it turned my whole world upside down. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And the worst thing was I was a C- student. I hated school, and I really wasn't trained to do anything else but to be a cop. So my cousin's friend was a stockbroker, and he's like, listen, there's these guys, they're opening up an investment banking firm. I know them really good. I can get you in the training program. And then I joined and I became a stockbroker for 10 years. So this was all of the 90s. So essentially the only skill that I've ever learned and was trained to do other than being a cop was how to sell. And in that business, morning, Mike, in that business, you have to be able to become somebody's best friend in 3 or 4 seconds because you're selling over the phone. Back then it was, 400, 500, 600 cold calls because you have to bill your broker book. And, I did that for 10 years, and it was in the 90s. The markets were going up, so it was really successful. Then they sold the firm, and I went on a trip to go see my friend's friend who was a expat living in Bangkok. And I bought a 2-week ticket because I'd never been to Europe, never been to Asia. I was 29. And I got there and I just fell in love. Like Bangkok's a massive city. You could fit 5 Manhattans inside of Bangkok. And wow. The people were just super friendly, super kind. And after 4 days, I called my mom. I said, send my stuff. I'm never coming home. And I ended up living in Europe and Asia for 17 years.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
While I was living over there, and I'll make this quick, while I was living over there, a couple of years later, social media came around. And on a whim, I set up a digital agency, what turns out to be the first digital agency in Southeast Asia. And that's when all the hotels were entering the Southeast Asian market, Bali, Singapore, all the islands in Thailand, Macau. And we were the go-to agency for 5 years to build out digital strategies and social media management for all these resorts. So I just hired really smart people and watched them for 5 years. I sold the agency and built up my personal brand, and this is what you see today.
So there's a lesson in there. It's not always just about, having these amazing ideas and being able to implement them, but it's also having and hiring the right people, putting that right people on the bus to really kind of advance you. In the real estate market, it's kind of the same. The real estate market is obviously right now it's crazy hot. It's not going to always be like that. Despite what people think, it's eventually comes to an end. It's all cyclical. I wanted to get into your pictures, right? So, you've obviously traveled around the world. You continue to do that. Tell us, how do you tell stories through pictures?
Well, here's the thing, and it happened over time, and a hot thing on Instagram right now, because I know that's what everybody concentrates on, but you shouldn't, but you do, is they archive the old pictures that don't matter, or when they were bad, or as soon as if they post a picture and it doesn't get a lot of likes, immediately they take it down and delete it and this and that. I challenge every one of you watching this to scroll back to some of my first posts. They were atrocious. People want to see the progression of your life, the progression of everything that you're doing. I learned by trial and error. Listen, if you have a food truck and you go park on a street one day and you get not one customer, are you going to go back there tomorrow? No, you're going to try out a new place. And then when you do find a place that's good, you're going to stay there. It's the same thing in any industry that you're in. Like, this is why I love videos and pictures, because it's a mixture of a deep, deep story with a video and that perfect picture. And now with the carousel option on Instagram, you can take a gorgeous picture. So you could take your listing, and then the second can be a video of the walkthrough. You know, like things like that. You can really mix it up. Let's talk about a little bit right now in the real estate marketing, especially in South Florida. I get very nervous whenever an industry is super hot, because people get very lazy with marketing. And this is when they should go all in on marketing and really ride this tidal wave, because it's going to come back. It's going to collapse. Nothing goes up in a straight line forever. There's going to be that progression. And are you going to be ready for that progression? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And if you're not going all in, not just on Instagram, on every platform, you know, you'll see the title, my name, and I have my handle, Mr. Scott Eddy. Yes, that's my title that's my handle on Instagram, but it's also my handle on every platform. There's nowhere that you can't find me, and find me being very active, and also find me having deep conversations with my audience. You'll never find a comment that doesn't have a reply. You know, and I feel that's very, very important, and it's lacking in the real estate industry, you know?
That's really a huge tip and advice, on, engagement, right? So replying, to your comments as simple as that and as quickly as you can, certainly obviously gets you a tremendous amount of engagement. We were talking off air about, platforms and, why we use Facebook, or why we, want SEO with Google pay-per-click and organic searches and all these other things that. Right. But you had an interesting take on Twitter. Tell us a little bit about your kind of what you think about Twitter and how it's kind of evolved.
So Twitter is my number one platform. It always has been. It always will be. It's where I built my personal brand. And here's something that most people don't recognize about Twitter. If you Google my name, I dominate the first few pages only because, and first off, even though I have a common name, and only because tweets mark for SEO very high. And I'll tell you the reason why. Google and Facebook are big time competitors. Google owns YouTube and they have the search. Facebook, people use Facebook to search. People use Instagram to search. So both of those big time competitors, right? Neither one of them want you to leave their team of apps, websites, whatever it is. So Google will always rank a tweet for SEO, that invisible mark that you get for SEO every time you post something on social, higher than anything you could put on Facebook or Instagram because of that fact. So for you not to have Twitter because it's not cool or because it's not the hottest platform out there, you're killing yourself. You're killing your personal brand. You should be active on every platform on a daily basis. And I know what you're thinking. I don't have time. I don't know how to use it. I don't understand Twitter. Have you ever taken the time to try to learn? I'm telling you right now, if you don't have time, wake up 15 minutes earlier. Literally schedule 3 5-minute breaks into your day where you do nothing but engage with tweets work on tweets or send tweets out. Those 15 minutes are going to come back to you tenfold.
Yeah, it's and the funny thing is if you talk to any kind of experts in the digital marketing space, they all talk about Twitter. They all talk about search.twitter.com. They all, you continually searching on Twitter. And I mean, right now I could go ahead and search on Twitter, Boca Raton, who's talking about Boca Raton real estate agents, or who's wanting Boca Raton homes, and engaging in those people. So it's a big deal. And thanks for, bringing that up. I wanted to get into like a little bit of travel, because I know that's right up your lane, your alley. Listen, you've been in some amazing places. What's your favorite place? What just like blew you away, or was something that, you just weren't expecting?
Hands down, my favorite place still is Thailand. I lived 11 years in Bangkok, and I just feel that the warmth and the incredible humans that live in Southeast Asia are just something that it's indescribable. I mean, they're the kindest people on the planet, and they will always remain at the top of the food chain for me.
Just like the Americans, right?
Yeah, especially South Florida. Listen, I remember when the people used to be nice in South Florida. I lived in Fort Lauderdale since I was 3. Yeah. I grew up in Las Olas, and locking your door was not always a thing that you needed to do.
It's crazy, right? I mean, listen, we used to leave our door unlocked. No issues, and then just people, I guess, gravitated to taking advantage of people, and the lack of respect sometimes is my biggest pet peeve, I guess, and manners, I would say. So, you also, tell us a little bit about your travel show, because you have a travel show on Lifetime, and how did that come about? And what are you doing? Because you're hosting all these beautiful places around the world.
So it's really funny. I'd probably say that 80% of my friends in real life right now I met on social. So I had this lady who now is my publicist, and she lives here in Delray, and she's always followed me. And one day when I happened to be in town, she goes, "Oh, hey, you're here. We should meet up. I want to talk to you. You should have a book out. You should have this." So we met up for a drink, become friends. And 3 months later, she signed on to be my publicist. And the first thing that she brought to me, she said, "Hey, I do PR for this studio here in South Florida, actually. And they have 6 shows on Lifetime right now. And they have a travel show on the shelf." And it was the perfect timing, the perfect fit. And it's very much like an Anthony Bourdain type show. I walk and talk and eat with locals wherever I go, and it's filmed on location. The problem is we finished filming the first episode a few weeks before the pandemic hit, so it actually premiered during the pandemic, but the show hasn't been canceled, and more shows are on the horizon. I actually have a call about it next week, and yeah, more coming soon. It's called Videoglobetrotter, and it's cool. It's the first travel series on Lifetime.
That's awesome. We'll look out for new episodes as well. So what took to me, as I was reading your profile and looking at your background, you're a brand ambassador to Helping Rhinos. And I have a very good friend of mine who's from South Africa, and I had the pleasure of going with him a few years ago to South Africa and really kind of understanding the bush, as they put it, and going on like a crazy 6-star safari thing. And
right.
I mean, wow. I mean, does that just it takes your breath away, because it's just so beautiful, and it's just so not what you're expecting, and it's so not Lion Country Safari.
Right.
So tell us how you got involved in the Rhinos, and I mean, obviously I know the stories of all the poaching and stuff, but tell us how's that progressing, and maybe how viewers can maybe help.
Yeah. So again, it goes all back to when I moved to Thailand. and I really saw the way that they use elephants in tourism, like bad tourism, like, the foreigners come over and they ride them and they make money, but what people don't know is the way they train them to do that. It's just really, really bad, and it's inhumane. So there are huge elephant orphanages and charities over there that really help, and foundations that help that cause, and they're really trying to rectify that problem. So I fell in love with that kind of conservation when I was in Thailand. Now, Helping Rhinos has been following me on Twitter for a long time, and one day they reached out to me on Instagram, and it was actually them. And they reached out to me. They said, "Hey, we just dropped a new apparel line. Can you help us promote it?" And I said, "Yes, I can, but that's easy. Let's go bigger. I want to talk to your founder, and let's see if we can do something cool." So we had that Zoom call, and this was the result of it. It came out, and I just wanted to help. And coincidentally, I had a trip to Kenya planned right after this trip, and I just came back from there, and I made the announcement while over there, and it just felt organic. And for me to be able to do something that feels organic, it's just a huge thing. So they do a lot with helping all the rhino conservations all around the world, but especially in Africa. And they have fundraisers and things like that all the time. But check them out, helpingrhinos.org. They have some really cool apparel on there. You can adopt a rhino. You can do all sorts of things. And they're just a great group of people. And all they do is give, give, give.
I love it.
I just love it.
When we were out there in South Africa, they were telling us just stories of, because for those that don't know, they basically the tusks of a rhino is worth a lot of money to a lot of people, especially in Asia, and so it could be $100,000 in some cases. So what they're doing is they're cutting off the tusks and leaving these rhinos to basically die. And there's tons of poachers, and there's a problem in the the inside people that are opening up the gates and not the ones that are supposed to be on the anti-poaching task forces and stuff like that are just are getting bribed and such. So it was interesting because listen, we live in a sheltered society. We're looking in it. First of all, we're in South Florida right now. It's beautiful weather, and a lot of times we get consumed with our own lives, and we don't consume the positivity of maybe what's out there. Except for what's in our world, right? So
Yes.
I think. I think these causes really bring and shed some light onto some really, really big things that we need to be aware of.
100%. So let me ask you a question. In your world, where are your most powerful reviews? Is it a platform like Zillow or something like that, or is it another platform?
So our most powerful reviews right now are on Google. They tend to they've done surveys and such like that. Buyers and sellers tend to trust Google reviews more than any other platform. So whether you're using a different platform to put out the Google reviews, that's fine. But basically you want as many Google reviews as possible. The Zillow reviews, nowadays, Zillow's manipulating things and with the reviews and their accuracy of data and such. So, whether it's Realtor.com or any of these portals, they're in control over it.
Of course.
Google's objective isn't, to necessarily, just sell ads. It's to give the most relevant content in the quickest amount of time to that consumer, so they continue to come back to Google.
So here's where I was going with that. I looked over, I don't know, like preparing for this in the last few days, I looked over 100 real estate accounts on all platforms over the last few days. And Here's something, and could be a low-hanging fruit that I don't see anybody doing. I saw like 2 people doing it. Why aren't you giving your reviews a shout out on your social channels and tagging them? Like really, like loving your customers harder than you've ever loved them in the history of customers. Like really putting them in the spotlight. And that does a couple things. A, it shows your humanity and like your willingness to give back on your platform. But B, you're really showcasing that you did a good job and somebody highlighted that and they took the time out to actually do that. You know what I mean? Like it goes back, it goes deep, deep, deep for your personal brand. And I think that people aren't doing it enough.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that a lot of, at least I can speak, from a personal experience, a lot of my buyers and sellers have many, many realtor friends, and they're trying to, unfortunately, trying to not piss off as many people. And I think sometimes you got to be a little careful with tagging and such. But you're right. Too many times we're worried about what other people are thinking, even though we really need to, just show that we care.
Well, I mean, even if you're not tagging,
yeah,
and I'm talking like it's just, listen, video is the cheapest, fastest, and most effective way to build trust with your audience. And nothing builds trust more than being authentic, raw, gritty, just showing that real voice. This is why I love, what Mike does on the beach every morning with his Facebook Live.
Yep.
And not only is he building trust and he's having fun with it and this and that, but he's actually getting customers.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't have met without Mike, right?
100%.
Unless we were walking and, down the avenue or something and we happened to meet. And that's what happens. It's all about connections, human connections, relationships and networking and such. It's so we talked about Twitter. We've talked about obviously reviews as you said. Where's the real estate? And I like to get your insight on the real estate market, but I also like to get your insight because I like. I don't want insights with just real estate agents and brokers or people that are in the industry. I like to see, outside of the industry to kind of, look at it and say, hey, where's the real estate market going in your opinion? And what should real estate agents be doing other than obviously tagging your, for reviews and such? What should they be doing to gear up for the next marketing age?
I think they should go all in on social right now and post like they've never posted before. You need to be posting at least once, if not multiple times, on every channel that you have. But don't just show listings. Who cares about that? Show that you're a thought leader. Talk about taking a selfish interest. yeah. Not selfish, selfie. Come on, Mike. Get with the program. It's 9:30. Yeah. I think that people need to be more active on social, talking about the industry, showcasing themselves as a thought leader versus is all they have in their timeline is listing. People don't want to see that. It doesn't matter. Talk about what I would be doing if I was down here and I was a broker right now. First off, there's more customers than inventory. So there's always a backlog with that right now because I have many, many realtor friends and it's a huge issue right now. What I would be doing, I would be talking about making a move to Florida and what that means to you. What problems are you going to have making that move to Florida? How can making that move to Florida, and here are some tips to streamline that process so you don't make these mistakes. And then I would take these videos, I would take these videos and I would run Facebook ads to the Northeast, to California, where you're getting most of the people moving here from, and really target certain zip codes in there that we're getting more people that are moving down here, and really like be very specific. Hey, New York, are you thinking about moving to South Florida? Well, here's 5 of the top reasons why you should. Here are 5 problems you're going to encounter making that move, and here's how to rectify that. Here are 5 of the best schools down here where you can put your kid. I mean, is all I would be doing is video content, not selling. That's all I would be doing, because all you're doing is building your personal brand for the next 5 years.
Love it. No, I absolutely love it. I mean, we talked last week. I was at a Remax conference, and we talked with a video guy who does pros. He's in Myrtle Beach. His name's Jeremy Bland, and he does pros and cons of moving to the top 10 things of pros and cons of moving to Myrtle Beach. And he does it on YouTube, and he says he doesn't share it from YouTube to Facebook. Right. He actually does different content for different platforms because there's different audiences. Yeah, sure. Good stuff. Well, Scott, I always end the interview with 2 questions. One is, what's your favorite streaming series of all time? And what are you currently watching? And if you don't watch streaming, maybe a favorite book or a book recommendation.
So I don't read because I have crazy ADHD. So I listen to podcasts and YouTube Premium is like the best thing that could ever happen. So I can just play something, close the app, and then put it in my pocket, and it's still going in my headphone. I don't really watch TV. I watch news, sports, and this and that, but I am highly addicted to Big Bang Theory. So I have all the episodes downloaded, and I'll binge a season or 2 when I'm on flights, always.
Love it. Well, I mean, listen.
Catch my attention. So sitcoms are perfect.
I mean, amazing tips, Scott. You're an amazing person. We talked about reviews and how to really show that your customers care. We talked about video and putting them in where consumers are. And we talked about photos and how to tell a story through pictures and such, and how to use Twitter. So we certainly appreciate it. We look forward to your next your new episodes on Videoglobetrotter on Lifetime, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Glickman. Thank you very much for putting us together. Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Thanks again, Scott. Have a wonderful week. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks you.
All right. Be well.